Is up, everybody, and welcome back to another Madden 24 online CFM game. We are now in Season 2 of the Premier Madden League with our Los Angeles Rams. It is preseason week 1, and that means free agency wrapped up, the draft wrapped up, and the trades in the offseason all wrapped up, and we're going to talk about all of that good stuff in this video today. You'll notice some unfamiliar faces in some different places, including Jameis Winston. Yes, that is Jameis Winston at the QB1 position for our Los Angeles Rams. We'll divulge into all of that as we get deeper into the video. But the first thing I want to talk about is the way we ended our last video with the Rams after our Super Bowl triumph. I talked about taking this series into a different direction with the GM mode, where I would do everything except play the games. I would control the roster as far as signing people in free agency, trades, drafting, all of that good stuff. I just wouldn't play the games, and that would allow me to have some free time to create other content on the channel, as well as try out the GM mode itself, which is something I've really wanted to do for a couple of years now, and I think now is a great time to put that series into fruition. And I am going to do that GM series. It's just not going to be this season. It already got a little bit too late into Season 2 when I ultimately came up and proposed this idea because, you know, even though I uploaded that Season 1 video, Season 2 was underway while I was uploading the end of Season 1 to the YouTube channel all the way up to the Super Bowl. And, you know, while I got into the Season 2, I already started playing, and it just made sense that if we are going to do the GM thing, we would start with a clean slate as far as a brand new season instead of having somebody take over mid-season. It would have just been an awkward transition. So the plan is Season 2 with our Los Angeles Rams is going to be the quote-unquote last dance for us. We're going to give it one go to give a Super Bowl title defense, and then after that, for the start of Season 3, we are going to hand over the reins to a different head coach to play the games. And, you know, we'll still show all the games. Like, don't worry about that. Like, I'll have that person record the gameplays and all that. We'll see every single game. And it'll be like nothing's changed except the fact that I won't be playing. And then, obviously, we'll make all the moves and still have some fun as far as being the GM of the team. And it'll give us a different perspective, all that good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. But for the immediate future, we are going to be playing the entirety of Season 2, just fully wholesome myself. So, you know, we'll have this last dance, and we'll see how it goes. So, you know, preseason and all, I'm at the helm here, and you see we're screwing around. Obviously, it's preseason. There's nothing to really take seriously here, but preseason is still pretty important as far as, I mean, to me at least, in this online CFM venture, to evaluate our talent, see who is worthy of starting, you know, see how our rookies play, see how well they play. Are our rookies good enough to start? You know, bring some guys off the street, even for depth, even for backup, because you notice CFM has a lot of injuries. The injury sliders are pretty high, and I know a lot of people are not a fan of that, but I'm one of the, I guess, select few, maybe more than that. I guess it might be a vocal minority. I don't know, but I really like the fact that there are a lot of injuries in this franchise because that's football. That's the way football is played. It is a brutal sport, like it or not. There are a lot of injuries. We've seen it throughout the NFL season. How many teams have to go to backup quarterbacks? How many teams have been riddled with injuries as they enter the playoffs? You know, like the Miami Dolphins, a team like that has had so many injuries. And there's not that many in this CFM compared to what happens to a team like the Miami Dolphins in real life, right? Even contending teams like the Baltimore Ravens go through a myriad of injuries. But yeah, I like it, but the point I was trying to make is that those injuries really make depth matter, which is a big point of football and should be a big point of our CFM. So not only do we have to make sure our starters are ready, we have to see who is ready for us, second, third, fourth string, etc. back there, who can play ball when we have to call their number, because we got tested last season in the playoffs when Cooper Kupp got injured. We needed our depth to show up, and they did. So now that we covered some of that stuff, some talking points, let's talk about how our offseason went. We made one trade in the offseason. That is it. Mainly because our Rams, we just don't really have many pieces to trade. We talked about this from the start of the franchise. for the first season and first offseason, we do not have many assets to trade. We do not have many draft picks, and I really wanted to keep those draft picks in-house because we need them. There are a lot of holes on this roster. So the one trade that we did make is for Offseason, the middle linebacker from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We acquired him from Jacksonville, and all it really took for us to get him was to move back 12 spots in the draft. We gave up pick 32 overall in the draft to move down to pick 44, which is where you see we drafted Rayshon Benny, pick 44. That was our first pick. We did not have a first-round draft pick, and I kind of followed the blueprint of the real-life Los Angeles Rams in this year's NFL draft, the most recent one, where they didn't have a first-round pick, but they really acquired a lot of picks in the mid to late rounds to build depth and just take shots at guys. And you saw that really work out for the Rams in real life with guys like Byron Young, Puka Nacua, and Kobe Turner. And we're going to take a similar approach with our Los Angeles Rams, because not only did we trade down from 32 to 44, we also traded down 2 other times, once to get 2 fifth-round picks and another time to get, I believe, a 6th and a 7th round pick. So we just tried to get as many shots at the draft as possible. And obviously we got Offseason, who's going to be our middle linebacker number 1, and hopefully that's pretty important. He's a veteran player, but he is going to be our MLB 1, and hopefully, he's a tackling machine. Hopefully he brings that to our team for the upcoming season. Now let's talk about our draft picks one by one. We start off with Rayshon Benny. He is quite the physical specimen, really high strength, and comes out the box as an NFL-ready player, which we cannot say about a lot of the players that we drafted. Rayshon Benny, I really love that draft pick at 44. Obviously, you're not going to get like the best of the best out there. Those guys go in the first round, but as far as who's left, I feel like Rayshon Benny was a really good pickup. Now, Beau Braid and Dylan Brooks, these are 2 really experimental players that we picked up, and that was kind of a theme of our draft, right? A lot of our guys are not going to be day 1 ready, but they're going to be guys that hopefully we can mold into becoming really good players. So we're going to take our shot at, maybe not fielding the best roster on week 1 of season 2, but as the season goes on and as the seasons go on, hopefully this can really be a roster that develops into something great, because sometimes you get those NFL ready players, you miss out on some physical attributes. And we got Ro Torrance here. He's 6'2", he's 92 speed, or 6'3", I believe, and he's really physical. He's a really physical corner as well. Can almost play safety, something to keep an eye on. But, we got him. We got Beau Braid, who's 92 speed. But none of these guys have coverage stats, right? Dylan Brooks, he has no anything. No block shed, no finesse, nothing like that. And now you see Jalen Henderson, this quarterback we drafted. He's a 64 overall, but he has promise as far as his physical traits. Julian Fleming, damn near a running back with some of these stats. 97 ball carrier vision, 99 break tackle out here. I don't know what he's doing, but we will try him in the wide receiver position. He just has absolutely no route running, and all these guys are just going to be such raw prospects, and I don't know how many of them are actually going to start for us. They're going to really have to compete in training camp and compete in the preseason games to earn their spots. I don't know if Julian Fleming will start for us week 1. I kind of doubt it based on these stats, but we'll see how he plays in preseason. Jalen Henderson, it's going to come down to him or Jameis Winston as far as who's going to be our starting quarterback, because our approach to free agency, as you see the final couple of guys that we drafted Gabe Hall, defensive end. We're actually going to move him to defensive tackle with that 95 strength. I think he's a 300-pounder. And then we also got Chico Bennett, just has depth at edge rushing, because we don't really have many, if any, edge rushers on our team besides Byron Young. So Chico Bennett, Dylan Brooks, they can all be guys that can play. We have Nick Hampton from last year's roster, but I don't really plan on giving Nick Hampton a starting role. But we'll see how it all goes, man. Maybe Nick Hampton kills it in the preseason. I don't know. But as far as our free agency approach, it was mainly about bringing in veterans. Our big free agent signing was Isaiah Wynn. He was like a 76 or 78 overall guard that we're actually going to move to center, since center is kind of a need for us, and guard is not really, with us having Dotson and Steve Avila. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name, by the way. I apologize for that, our left guard. But we have those 2 guys. We have Havenstein is back for another year at right tackle, and we signed Isaiah Wynn to a long-term contract to hopefully be our center of the future. And then we also signed Andrew Norwell to play left tackle. You'll notice that we didn't draft any offensive linemen. We have our starting 5 for next season at least. I mean, there were just so many positions of need for this Rams team. We couldn't touch on everything, right? We couldn't touch on running back, even though, despite his well as Kirk Merritt played, we would still like to get a running back in the future. Kirk Merritt is in his age 27 season, and he actually regressed in the offseason. Believe it or not, after the spectacular postseason Kirk Merritt had, he did actually regress. He went from 95 to 94 speed, as well as losing a couple of other attributes. Though you will notice that we did sign a running back in free agency, Antonio Gibson, formerly of the Washington Commanders, as Jalen Henderson showing up and shining bright. You'll love to see it from the rookie, who may be turning some heads in the Los Angeles front office, the stands, and all that good stuff, as backup quarterback Aaron Rodgers comes in for the New York Jets. By the way, the Jets traded up for the first overall pick and got Caleb Williams, so that's why you're seeing Williams at quarterback. That is Caleb Williams of USC fame and lore at the #1 overall pick. By the way, I should mention there, Caleb Williams is the reason why he's not a superstar, or nobody from our draft class is anything but normal. If you are new to this series, if you aren't new, you know what I'm about to say, but if you are new to this Ram series, the reason why everybody's normal is because we don't find out the players' dev trait until after preseason is done. There is a very complex formula that is used to determine who gets development traits in this league from the rookie classes, and maybe I'll talk about that more in the next video, but for now, just know that's why nobody is normal. We will be getting some players that are above normal dev, maybe even superstar. We'll see, as that is Bradley Roby, the veteran, getting the interception and the pick 6. Bradley Roby is just someone we signed for preseason depth, but he could be someone that plays his way onto our roster if he plays well in the preseason. And, this roster is just so wide open because there are still as many holes, if not more, right now than we had at the start of the CFM, because most of these guys are just veteran free agent pickups or raw prospects put on our team, via the draft. And, like I said, we got a couple of veterans as far as other guys. We got Jadeveon Clowney to play edge role, outside linebacker for us, and even though we drafted a couple of guys to play that outside linebacker edge role for us, they are so raw that I think, we'll have Byron Young on one side and probably Jadeveon Clowney on the other. But we'll talk about more of that stuff in the next video. But, we do have Clowney out there. We have Marcus Peters. We signed him not to play corner, but Marcus Peters getting up there in age. So we're actually going to move him to a safety role, kind of like how we used Kyle Fuller last season, and see if Marcus Peters could pull that off for us, as Bew Braid with the interception, the rookie on the last play of the first half, snagging a sneaky little interception for the stat lines, if anything, in the return. Not doing too much. It's a tie game here, but, it's preseason. Obviously, you could tell by my play that, we're taking this very nonchalantly, because as much as we want to take preseason seriously as far as finding out, what we have on our roster, it's still preseason at the end of the day. So we can really fool around and experiment like we did on that kickoff when I tried to lateral and it did not work. Sometimes you find out things that do not work, as Quentin Lake. This is probably a guy that won't make our 53-man roster, but he was on the team last year as a backup safety. He's 86 speed, though, so I don't really think that we have room in the inn for the Quentin Lakes of the world. And that's something I do want to improve on this roster for Season 2, is just get it a little bit more athletic, because when you look at the Rams roster in game, especially the Week 1 starting roster, the one glaring weakness of this team is athleticism. They just have NFL gritty players, but they had Kendricks, the cornerback, who was 85 speed. Quentin Lake, 86 speed. We had Jordan Fuller at a starting safety role, playing so well for us in the postseason. He was 86 or 87 speed. He might have been 87 speed. We actually let Jordan Fuller go in free agency. I showed you guys the list of all the free agents we were going to let go, like Jordan Fuller. Who else was on there? Van Jefferson, all those guys. They did indeed go. We didn't really bring anybody back on the team. The guys who had to go, they left. We did bring back Deion Jones, though. We did bring back Deion Jones to be our middle linebacker number 2. At the time, I thought I was bringing him back to be middle linebacker number 1, because that was before we made the Alucon trade. And like I said, the Foyce Alucon trade was the only player trade we made in the offseason. It was not really too eventful in offseason for us, because we kind of had to play it safe. Even though we technically have a Super Bowl window, we can't blow it all in one season and just absolutely tank the next 3 seasons, because this Premier Madden League, it always goes 5 seasons, so you have to keep that in mind. We're building for not just year 2, but year 3, year 4, and year 5, and we have to keep that all in mind, how we draft. And, part of that comes down to, we got to draft some raw prospects, especially with us drafting, most of our guys in the mid to late rounds of the draft. That is kind of all that's there, are raw prospects, and we have to build them up from the ground. But it's going to be a pretty fun experiment for us, and I mean, normally we make a lot of trades, so this is going to be a different kind of rebuild for us to where, we usually were able to trade for a lot of star power. Like that Giants roster, we had a lot more what I like to call blue chip players on the team, like multiple offensive linemen, multiple edge rushers, Dexter Lawrence inside, Saquon Barkley. We even had guys like Slayton and Tony who were pretty good players. The Rams just didn't really have much of that. We had Byron Young and, even our guys that are good, Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, are old. But we are keeping Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, both of them around. We have no plans to trade them right now because why would we? We just won a Super Bowl. Clearly we have a window to compete. We don't want to blow that. And honestly, I just don't think at this point what we can get for those guys is going to be worth trading them because, at this point, Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald are not only going to help our team, but also help our younger players. Because if we have Cooper Kupp, that's going to open up more receiving opportunities for, whomever is starting at wide receiver, whether it's Puka Nacua or who else. And by the way, Puka Nacua will be back as the starting receiver once again for our Los Angeles Rams. He'll be back as wide receiver too. I mean, Puka Nacua is not endgame for our Los Angeles Rams. Like his development in year one, we really needed it to skyrocket to commit to Puka Nacua for years to come, but it hasn't really. He hasn't even gotten one speed upgrade. He's gone up like 6 or 7 overalls, maybe even more than that, but he has not gotten one speed upgrade. So I can't say Puka Nacua's endgame as much as I would love for him to be, but like I said, we have so many holes, we can't address everything, so Puka Nacua will be back, and I don't even know who the wide receiver 3 is going to be. Puka Nacua wide receiver 2 is not even ideal, but we're going to do it. And obviously, Cooper Kupp at 1 hopefully just makes things easier for the other guys. You also notice that we signed Hunter Henry at tight end, and we did let Tyler Higbee walk in free agency, but we actually signed him back during free agency to at least be tight end too because he was so good for us. It's like, hey man, no one signed him right away in the first couple of weeks of free agency, and I was like, you know what, let's just bring Tyler back. We have a lot of cap space, let's bring him back. And, maybe he can even be the #1 role if Hunter Henry does not work out. But, I mean, that's not end game at the tight end position either. All these guys that we signed besides Antonio Gibson in free agency were all one-year deals, one-year rentals. I like to do that with the veterans. I don't like to commit long-term contracts with veterans. Just get them to one-year deals, and we'll worry about that down the road next season or see if we have young players that develop into starters in the upcoming season. So, yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought what I was talking about before the whole Puka Nacua thing came up. But this preseason game is winding down. It's only going to be this one preseason game in this video. In the next video, we're going to do a lot more talking about the position battles with our Los Angeles Rams for the duration of preseason. We'll cover, how our draft went as far as development trades. Keon Crossan signed to this roster. A lot of bargain guys signed in free agency like Keon Crossan. He could be our cornerback 3 on this team perhaps. We did let the Super Bowl hero go. We let Robert Rochelle go. I was going to bring him back if no one signed him in free agency, but I guess someone saw his Super Bowl heroics and said, yeah, we'll take a chance on him, and brought them into their squad. So I was able to sign Keon Crossan. He's 94 speed, so he should be an upgrade over Robert Rochelle. And then we do have Ro Torrens that we drafted, and he might take a spot, which will be part of the upcoming video that I plan to talk about those battles. But we have a lot of those in preseason. We have a lot of undecided factors, most importantly, about who is going to be our quarterback for week 1 in the regular season, because I think Jalen Henderson has put on some good film today to compete against Jameis Winston. I can't say he's playing better than Jameis because Jameis has some really good plays, but obviously the excitement of starting a rookie quarterback is there. Now, Jalen Henderson was drafted at the end of the 5th round, so he was never brought in to be the guy. It was just a shot in the dark we took towards the end of the draft because why not? Jameis, I was okay with starting him. Like, I signed Jameis in the offseason, and I was like, you know what? We really need a lot of positions on this team, and if we can't get a good quarterback right away, we don't need to reach on a quarterback in the first year. We could wait until next season and just start a veteran like we did last year with Matt Stafford. This does not have to be the year we get a quarterback. But Jalen Henderson might be changing some of those philosophies. He might have been a real gem found at the end of the 5th round. We'll cover all that in the next video. It's time up for this one, though. Leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw today. Subscribe for more Madden 24 gameplays. It's The Last Dance. Let me know what you guys feel about The Last Dance and the whole GM idea that we are going to bring in for Season 3. And on that note, I will catch you guys next time. Thank you, as always, for watching.